Okay, well, welcome everybody. Sorry for the slight delay on starting tonight, but how fantastic. So many great people have shown up, so many familiar faces and some new as well in front of us here. Just amazing. And as Steve said, there's quite a few people signed up, so we may have people joining us as we go. So bear with us if that happens, because we'll have to quickly mute them as we go. I think somebody else is coming in now too. Okay, let's just mute there. Okay. Oops, it won't do it. Actually, could you take that? Oh, okay. So, I think you all know us. My name's Tony, and this is Steve. And we're Free Principles, well, we're commonly known as Free Principles with Life and Soul, and have been since 2012. Yeah, so
Yeah.
It's 4 years now. 4 years, wow. Don't think about that often. So how the time's flown by. So I came across the principles in 2011, so 5 years ago, and was so touched by my own realization, my own insight into this, and just felt compelled really to get out into the world and share these principles with people. And then on that first year of the journey, I managed to convince Steve that it was a good idea to come on board too, which I'm sure some of you have heard his story in the past, but he may share that again tonight. But Steve had some profound insights as well that year, specifically in Canada on Salt Spring Island. And in 2012, we just got together and we thought, well, let's do something here to do our own thing in terms of sharing the principles. And since then, it's been such an exciting journey. And it's some of you have been on the ride with us as we've been going, quite closely at times. And we've done all sorts of things, from setting up humble little meetup groups in Brighton, to doing our own retreats, to doing one-to-ones and intensives, to hosting talks and workshops from some of the well-known people from the field, from the Free Principles field, to moving around the country, looking at opportunities elsewhere. And this is really what this webinar is about for us, is to talk about living life from the Free Principles, living life through the feeling, the feeling from the insight that we know is there. That's what we've really been seeing over the last year or so, showing up, isn't it, more and more?
Yeah.
I feel really passionate about that it's quite easy to get wrapped up on the surface level of the Free Principles in terms of the body of knowledge or the understanding, forgetting the simplicity that lies behind each one of us here. We're all coming from that divine thought, divine mind, divine consciousness, and really that's what we want to touch on tonight. But also, we want to just let you guys know about some of you already signed up to, but it's an exciting opportunity that we're putting forward in March this year, our own fellowship, Free Principles with Life and Soul Fellowship. And we just want to give you some information and details about that too. But that, again, is from that heart, from that same place, really offering people an opportunity to come and walk in the feeling of the Free Principles, to go deeper in the understanding, to see how it can just become part of your life and help you move forward in finding your way through life. So we'll talk a little bit about more about that as we go. Steve and I will probably open up and talk for half an hour or so, just sharing our own experience of living life from the Free Principles. But as we've got so many of you on the call, it would be completely incorrect of us not to open up an opportunity to have questions, comments, and just to share with each other too. So, do you want to add something to that?
No, that's fine for me just now.
Okay. So.
Okay, so you want.
Okay.
It's so interesting because again, our check-in was like, okay, so you want to go first? Yes, okay. So even when we're doing this, and we're really just showing up in the moment and just seeing what's flowing through us, rather in a mindset of, right, we need to talk about this, we need to do that. And for us, when we first And when we talk about heard, I'm not speaking about intellectually I understood the three principles, because I don't think we ever can. I think that for me, it's when we, instead of looking at what we do with life, how life is living us is what we've been exploring since we've uncovered our little bit of what we know about the principles. Because I'm sure you've heard this before, as soon as you think you know what they are, life is a way of showing you that that's not it. So that excites me, that we don't have to know it all. So from the get-go, we can relax in that grace of just knowing that since the moment we've come to this earth, life has been living us. When you look at how we've all been created in the first place, when you look at the sperm and egg come together, that's a miracle on its own. So from the second that a life began to take shape, i.e. you were a miracle in motion. That's what begins to excite us when we look at this world of the three principles. Where does that come from? How is that put life that we can sit, we can hear? We don't have to think right now that our internal organs are doing exactly what they have been designed to do. So for us, again, when we look at the principles, that's what begin to really get us curious and keeps us curious. To realize that we are not ever living life. We think we are, and that's where we innocently get lost. When we look at that, there is a spiritual formless energy that brings light to our every thought, every single moment, bringing freshness, just like it did when we were in fetus stage, and then when we were born and we started to walk and talk and so on. When you look at the miracle that you have been since the second you've came here, that has never stopped, even though we have got lost in our personal thinking at times. But I'd gone for a walk today with the dog, and I'd noticed something on social media today, and it was something that I'm going to say it was gossip of something that's happening to this star and so on. And I looked at who'd written it, and it's known as one of the newspapers where they just make stuff up. And for some reason that popped into my thinking. I was thinking, you think that's where we get lost. Somebody writes something, we take it in. And the moment that we're taking something in, it's somebody else's story, and it gets mixed with our story. And then it tries to become a belief. And then that belief is what we set our life through. But in that moment, it was like, gosh, yes, we always do that. That's what it's kind of been like, is the human experience. But what really excited me, though, was to see that in that moment of seeing that freshness, there may have been a time when I'd have, why do people do that? Why do people do this? And why do people? But in that moment, I could just see that I didn't have to get into my story. It was nothing to do with that other person had written. It was my invitation in that moment to be at peace with myself, regardless of what I was hearing. And that's what the more that when we call that living life in the principles, is Tony had mentioned a word at the beginning of a feeling. And for me, the feeling is not like, well, you know, I could have got quite cross when I read that story, or I'm feeling really absolutely fantastic. Yet it's that feeling, it brings that into our consciousness and into our thinking. But if we look again, that there's been an energy that allowed us to have life, continually allows us to have life, then there is something more in play than just us being small mind. And when we see that, then that goes beyond any personal thinking, where we begin to recognize that even though every single one of us here and those who will listen to this have a name, we drop behind the name. We drop behind the person. And we bathe in that same grace of oneness that gave us life in the first place. So when we talk about living life from the principles, it's the honoring that we've always been doing that. And we always will do it, even in those moments of thinking we're not. We always are. And when we look at that's inbuilt in every single one of us, and that's what rights is. That's what brings us back to base. That's what brings us back to center. So just for some reason, when Tony was speaking, that's what popped into my thinking, was just wanting to, for me, that's where I feel the ease from life, of living life from the principles, of just seeing that no matter what story I make up, it's simpler than that. It's easier than that. And the more that I recognize that, the more that it brings me back to the breath and how the experience has been created in the first place. There's the gift. There's where we can get excited. The gift of life in the moment to moment of creation is new like never before, gifted through the three principles: understanding.
So, as Steve was talking there, and just listening to him, and it's interesting when this guy starts to talk, you can feel the energy just calming down. It's like almost like words feel a little bit inappropriate right now after that. So straight off. But there it is again. There's the feeling. There's the feeling that we're talking about. I don't know if people can resonate with that, can feel that. I mean, this is a webinar, but still it spreads out there. Somehow it's almost like something just calms down, and something more comes to life within us, and just nudges us into being that, hey, there it is. There it is. There's the simplicity of life again showing up. And that's it. That really is it. I mean, when I've been reflecting on coming online tonight and sharing living life from the principles, for me, it really is knowing that feeling is going to guide me. That feeling is going to do the work and take me to where I not so much need to go. It's the ego that has the need, but it's almost like a deeper knowing that where I should be going, if that makes sense to people. And sometimes that means that nothing is going to happen. I'm just going to be in the moment and have some downtime. And it's very much more and more now about trusting that feeling, knowing that it's going to show up, knowing that it's going to show up, underlying the knowing. There's knowing and then there's knowing. And that's what we're touching on here, that there's an inbuilt inner guidance system that each one of us walks around. Most people are not connected in with that, even though they are that, if that makes sense. We interfere with it with the ego. The ego comes up with constructs on life, ideas about life, values, beliefs. You know, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be successful, I should be achieving this. Okay, and that's useful. It can be pointers to where we might want to go. But I guess what I'm putting out there, what we're putting out there tonight is, what if there's an even deeper purpose? That's even beyond purpose. It just is. There's a being in life. And then when we start living life from there, things start happening in life. Things start showing up that we've never even considered before. We end up in situations, positions that, boy, it's happened to me. You know, it's having Sue on here, actually. It's lovely to see Sue's face here. And it was only last year that sitting in and you probably remember this, Sue, sitting in the managing director's office of a big housing organisation in the northeast with Sue, having this meeting with these people. I suddenly caught up with myself and was like, what the hell am I doing here? You know, you end up kind of, things happen, you know. It's just kind of like life takes on a whole new meaning, I guess, without really trying to do anything. You know, it's not so much about the trying or wanting to get anywhere. It's really just trusting that that's leading the way. And more than that, both of us have had experience over the last year of quite significant events happening in our family lives, you know, challenges, but big challenges with ill health and bereavement too. But even that, there's a feeling that we know how to respond. There's a knowing that with the principles, even when we are getting caught up, which we do, we get caught up. It's not like we sit here in bliss all the time. God, far from it. You should have seen us an hour ago talking about something. But it's a knowing that is just a moment caught up in the ego, caught up in fault, personal fault. It's the ego again trying to work it out. Habitual stuff, habits that are just there. There's no more that actually, we're so much more than that. There's nothing to work out or sort out. There's not even anywhere to get to from there, you know. And that's massive. That's massive for me. From a past of always trying to feel better about life, to actually now being in a place where wherever I'm at is where I'm at. Knowing that I won't be there forever anyway. The more I allow the power of thought to guide me and just to flow with me, the more it just works out. Things just take care of themselves, you know. And for sure, there are things that crop out where, you know, the answer isn't there. Sometimes it feels like there's a waiting game going on. Sometimes it feels like things should be happening more. But even then, there's a chance to observe, to learn, to see things about the self in terms of, you know, that yearning, that wanting. Just, yeah, everything is an opportunity. Every moment is an opportunity to actually see ourselves fresh and new as well, to learn through our experience of life. And I guess that's living life from the three principles. Knowing, as Steve was just pointing to there, that we're doing that regardless anyway. We cannot not do that. We all think, we all have conscious awareness, and we have all got the access to the intelligence behind life. We've all got mind. So whether we know it or not, doesn't matter. You know, we're still actually being powered by those principles. They're there. But the simplicity of this as well, just knowing that the more I see, the simpler it gets. There really isn't anywhere to get to. There's nothing to learn here. And that's one of our real goals with the work we do, is to settle people down so they get a glimpse of this. Not so much from what we're saying. The words are unimportant. You know, don't try and figure anything out that we're trying to say here or that we are saying. But listen for a feeling. Look for your own feeling. If something's jumping alive to you, there's information there. Just stick with that. It may not reveal itself. It might not give you much. But just being with that, for sure you will start to see more and more. And just trusting more and more, seeing that can influence your life and take you on the way. Regardless of what's going on. That's been, I think, the experience of the last year, you know. Sure, I have experience sometimes of things that press my buttons. There's still stuff that I can't see why I show up in life like that. But I still know that all I need to do is take myself out of some situations and let myself just settle down. And I'll know how to respond in a better way. I don't need to sort everything out there and then in the moment. And it's interesting coming to that point of view. I've just been sitting with a group of people that have experienced homelessness, talking to them between the difference of responding and reacting, and talking to them about the three principles, and then seeing their wisdom shining back again, how they get the simplicity of it. Just see it, the common sense of this, you know, it's just remarkable. So very much that's what I wanted to bring in and kick off tonight with. That's how I see this. So I don't know if you want to kind of add anything here, or do you see it in the same way?
No, it was so interesting listening to Tony, because it was like, so people see it that way. That's curious how people see it that way. And it just reminded me of all the different kind of trainings and to become a psychotherapist, was to make me a better therapist, make me a better person, and already not recognizing my truth in that. And that's where I've seen that we've all, as society, has got lost. That where we think we're broken and we're damaged and we need to be repaired. But what we're saying with this, in Tony was saying about the feeling, and it came to me again, it's just like, for me, when it became more simple for me to understand, was that if you look at life as being a vibration, every single thing has an energy. Even the walls that's around us, to our eyes are still, but they're actually moving. Nothing can stay still. Now that's exciting on its own. So we look at the way life, even on the outside, is being designed. It's to give us the best ride possible. So if you look at that's what's happening out there, imagine what's going on inside with that feeling. Because the feeling doesn't have any walls. It doesn't have any prison bars. It doesn't have any sense of belonging. Yet through that sense, we have the purity of knowing our true nature, of knowing that there is something bigger inside of us, always guiding, always loving, always bringing the new alive like never before. And for me, when I first heard that it really was a eureka, hallelujah, and many other kind of moments to recognize that, you mean I don't have to beat myself up anymore for having that kind of thought? You mean I never have to have that thought again? And even seeing that when the thought comes, it's still the gift in the moment that we are the creator of our own individual experiences, full stop. What that took off my shoulders was unbelievable. What it continually I see in all other people is their own way, but recognizing that we're our best gift to the world. And it starts with self. Continually back to self. And that the only relationship that we really can have is with ourselves. Now, when I years ago used to ponder on that, but bringing my understanding of the principles, that the first thought was like, I don't know if I like that, because my mum was alive then and there's Tony, and it's like, but then I knew that I was just in a little bit of Steve making stuff up. And what I saw, how innocently in that moment, that when we have our personal thinking, we're believing that we're separate. We're separate from universal mind, universal consciousness, and universal thought. Some people would say God, some people would say vibration, whatever rests with you. And that's all I see now in all the simplicity. Not, oh, I'm in personal thinking and I need to understand. So when Tony says that, I'm a bit like, oh, that's interesting. I just see it. It's like, whoa, where I could go right now, I could give myself to go on the roller coaster ride of thought and completely believe that. And there's some moments it can kind of catch, but even the recognizing that that's not me. That's just my old cognitive understanding. That's just my old intellectual understanding doing what it's always done when I believed it was real. It doesn't have any presence, true presence in this moment. And when I give it that true presence in the moment, I'm just lost in the story, believing that I'm separate from who I truly am. But really the gift is we're never separate from love, universal love. And when we look at that pure consciousness is our soul's purity, there's the feeling we're pointing to. It's yours. It's your gift. It's your gift to you constantly, and it's your gift to the world when you speak from it. There's you living life, not from the principles, but living life. So the principles show us how every single person every single person all lights up and feels the same way. Even those people who may have cut us up driving in the car, or cussed at us, or give us a horrible look, or shout at us, they're all doing the same with the level of understanding they have at that time. And that's all we've ever been doing innocently. But yet, nothing can take that serenity within. Nothing. Even those moments of hearing stories and sitting with clients who has been giving different mental health diagnoses, and as what Tony says, sitting with the homeless community and just seeing them light up. Situations on the outer world not changing, still homeless, still in hostels, still having the same psychiatric diagnosis, but yet they're speaking as if they're my teacher. Which just shows there's the oneness of life. That we can let ourselves off the hook of thinking we have to be this to make it better for other people. We have to do that to make it easier for ourselves. When we begin to live through life, we see the divine plan in action. We see that we've never really been lost, because just like the stream as it's flowing, you might put a downward thought up, but the stream will just go somewhere else. That's how it's designed. And when we start looking at how we're designed, the principles beautifully explain it. But yet we're really, and I'm sure you've heard this before, we really are that spiritual being having the human experience. And the more that we see that it's the spiritual energy, it brings all psychology alive. That's incredible. There's another miracle, that we couldn't have psychological functioning, thinking, thought, without the universal intelligence behind all things. That's you. You're the same love and vibration of everything. Nothing is separate. Even in our thinking, we start just saying that, oh, I just believed it for a moment. I just thought it was real. And it's like, as Sydney Banks would say, the missing link. Thought allows us to see so much about our world. It allows us to look from behind these eyes out through thought. But yet, no matter what's going on outside, it's still us having the experience, full stop. Nothing is real outside of us until we say it is, through thought. And it's not thought that we get lost in, it's the thinking about the situation or the person, or the thought that we believed is the story. Now, what for me gets really exciting, when we see that from inside ourselves, we see that we can have an experience without the experience having us. Now, how incredible is that? That we can still have moments of, oh my God, and then it just goes. It's not saying that all of a sudden you can let your hair down and flap your wings and life is great. We are having a human experience, but yet it's still illuminated from within us. And the more that we see that everyone is just having their experience, and we will see some people more stuck in personal world, more separate, believing that they are not plugged into intelligence. And the more that we just see that, we can just breathe even more into us. We can just see the truth. It's constantly, this time of the year, bringing nature alive. Even through the winter, even going about with their winter coats on, and I'm going through the woods today, it was like, even through these last couple of months, it's been very mild here in the UK, but even though we've just got on with our life, inside the earth, new life is coming. inside of us, new life is continually coming through the gift of mind, thought, and consciousness. They can never be separated. One works with the other. They work beautifully as a trinity of love, a universal love. So for us, when we were looking at fellowship, Tony and I went out 3 years ago now. It's really funny because when we begin to like understand, for years we've heard like, well, there's no such thing as time, that's just a made up concept. And really when you just, the more that you just find yourself dropping into your experience of life flowing through you, you have to really think about, well, how many years was it? Because sometimes I can't even remember what I did this morning, and it's not because I'm getting forgetful, because the more you're just in the moment, that's all there ever is. It's just the moment of us all being together in this oneness. That's all there ever is, moment to moment. And so when we'd gone over to Canada to do our fellowship, and we knew at some point that we would love to do something ourselves. And we'd looked at it a couple of times, but that feeling that Tony was saying about earlier on, that something that lights us up, that just, yeah, let's just see. Let's just talk about that. Let's just follow. And so we decided that what we would do is this year is roll out our fellowship. We looked at, should it be a training? Should it be a practitioner thing? And then within our hearts, what we've always believed is that you cannot teach the principles. We've always been the principles since we've been born. So if that's so, then when you hear Sydney Banks say that there's no one more spiritual or holier than anybody else, that lights us up. That's what our fellowship is about. Where we come together as one, and would you see where love takes us in those moments?
It's interesting you just finishing off there, because as you were talking, I suddenly recognized that all the work we do around the principles is about walking in fellowship with somebody. So it's whether it's a client on an intensive, on a one-to-one, whether it's a group, whether it's the fellowship, whether it's the groups I take for the homeless. This is what I love about this work, actually, this understanding is we just all walking it together. All Steve and I, like we're doing tonight, really we're just facilitating, holding a space, that's it. And then we're just walking alongside people, knowing that there's somewhere for them or something for them to see. And it's up to them whether they will see that or not. But I can't even put words to it, but suddenly I saw it as opposed, because I do see when I'm out and about the way people, especially in work that's done with people that are vulnerable, for example, I see it very differently. It's almost like the experts come in, they're put there to guide people to get better or become something or learn something. And it's almost somebody trying to tell people what to do to get somewhere. Whereas this really it really is just everybody walking together, because we all learn together. The more we share, the more we see, the more we learn. Deeper our insights into this get as well. So there's something really special that I hadn't seen before. You pointing to that and you seeing that. It's like walking in fellowship with your life, isn't it? With your own life. And then taking that out into the world and walking in fellowship, your life walking in fellowship with other people's lives. You know, it's the depth and profundity of that. You know, I hadn't seen it that way before. So constantly there's new stuff if we allow ourselves to see it, if we allow that river of thought as well to keep on flowing, rather than getting stuck on bits or bits we don't like, or focusing in on the same old habitual stuff. The more we wake up to that, then actually, wow, you know, That's going all the time. But where we place our focus, that's really up to us. There's the free will that Sid Banks referenced, that he talked about. And I guess what we're pointing to in relation to that is that there's also a greater will at play. It's almost like God's will. I'm using the word God, but I've got no religious connotations on that. That there's something that's got our backs at all time. There's something that we can trust with our hearts, because it is our heart, it is us, that knows what's best for us. It will help us to take steps forward to where as I was saying earlier, where's good and nourishing, and how we can get out and be of service in this world in the best way possible, if that makes sense to people. And it's so interesting, again, just talking about that and just seeing, getting a feel for the simplicity of that. You can't explain it. There's no steps to it. As we all know, most of us on here have been around the principles for a long time. There really isn't the A to Z of this, or the 12 steps to happiness. We are that. We are everything. If we just turn inside and choose to start to see that showing up. Choose to let ourselves gravitate more and more, using the feeling, I would say, as the guide to that. Knowing when we're off base, when it's a good time maybe not to make decisions about things, but also trusting that the decision will come, it will just be there. And I'm reminded again of last year that Steve, both our lives were really thrown up in the air, as I said, because of bereavement, family issues going on. But rather than getting into, this is dreadful, we had so many plans, we wanted to be here, that's what we were aiming for, we went with the flow of life and trusted that. And I don't want to go into detail too much, but I'm so grateful that I did that now, because it's put me in a position where I can now respond better to my own family's health concerns. So it's the flow of life. Even though the ego, I would still say on some level, I'm not settled where we are in the country, and I know there's something greater coming, but I'm trusting that when it's right. But right now I need to be here, because I can respond to some things going on. So it's interesting, things just seem to take care of themselves. Okay. And I wouldn't say, our lives are rosy and everything's fantastic, because, there are challenges there as well. But it's just knowing that we'll know when we need to know. It's trusting the unknown. It's trusting that each step of the way we're supported on that too.
It's this saying again, that through the experiences that Tony shared, it really is the unlearning of everything we think we are. As soon as we think we're a certain thing, we're so far away from who we truly are. When we try to identify as being a certain kind of person or a certain kind of idea, then it's kind of good, but sometimes living up to that can be a whole mindset on its own. And I say that because with the experience of last year of moving to another part of the UK, and then all of a sudden having a death in the family, and then realizing that we're never really the ones in control from our personal anyway. And there was such an ease in that I never thought would be possible in the experience of one of my mum dying. I never thought the grace to see life in its true beauty, and seeing the whole experience from that, to the extent of one of the days saying to Tony, should I really be this happy? I never thought in my thinking of when this would happen, that gift wasn't there in my conceptual thinking. And to live life knowing that that's where I was seeing all the experience of that opportunity in that moment. that's not just unique to me. That's so for everyone. When we see, when Tony started off thinking, and we were saying about the fellowship, and I thought, well, it's interesting because on this call, it's like we have Mark and Karen from Canada, and it's like to get to Canada, there's a border you have to go through, and how the world's all divided into kind of sections, trying to keep each other out and trying to do it. It's like, oh my goodness, it's like at one point, that would have felt really big. But seeing the innocence and how we've took this plot of Mother Earth and kind of, this is mine and you do not come over it. And how in our own little world we can do that with our own individual understanding. But just seeing it allows you to live life with ease. And it's not the 12 steps to live life with ease. You are born with ease. It's not, how do I get happiness and keep it for the rest of my life? You are born with happiness. There's innate health, which has all those kind of words. We could go on all night talking about the goodness, but it's only a word. It's the feeling of the truth. And it's that truth, it allows us to grow with wisdom. It's that truth, it elevates us, not us. When we have an insight into our human conditioning, it's not because psychological, that just the change happens within. So that same wisdom and love from the egg, the sperm, brought you into the miracle of life, is still bringing you birth in the moment. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. That's the exciting thing. No matter how lost or serious in life or thinking we're down and out in our life and we've segmented, we've built walls and we've done all this form stuff, in a second it's gone. And Sydney Banks said we're only one thought away from mental health. One thought away, and the list could go on. When you start seeing that in your own world, not because Sydney Banks said it. I truly love listening to Sid, and he's our go-to, because the purity of where that man was coming from. He knows what he saw. We're kind of speaking about what I think Sid was saying. Now, the moment we even drop that, because Sid wasn't asking us to do that. He was saying, what I found is in you. And that's what we're saying in fellowship. So I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, having a catching up. We were having lunch with Aaron Turner. And so he was saying, so when are you guys going to share? And I said, I don't know. And I laughed. I said, I think I'm still doing my apprenticeship. And he said, that's so wise. And I went, yeah, check me. And I don't know why I've said that. But I think life is, and the form is one continual apprenticeship. It's an opportunity to learn and to grow and to love and to be moment to moment with self. And in that self, we see the moment to moment with others. There's no borders. There's no countries. We can feel the love from Mark. We can feel the love from Karen. They're in Canada. We don't need a border. Only our thinking can pretend to be a border at the moment. But again, the moment we see that, it drops. So when we decided to do this living life, it was like, well, we've truly, the opportunities that have come along, we've always waited. Now we have our moments, and I spoke about this at the Viva event in Spain, and I spoke to a few people on one-to-one since then, and one woman had says to me, there was something you said and I got so excited about it, but I don't know what it means. And I was like, well, tell me what you think it means then. She says, well, let me tell you what you said. She says, you said something about that you and Tony talk about things and you get excited and then you just let it go. She says, but if I let it go, I'll never think about it again. And I laughed. And I say, see what story we tell ourselves. I say, so let me tell you in this moment how I see it. Something might come in, like the fellowship. You know, I'm kind of getting a feeling. Can I speak to you about it? Yeah. Let's just talk. So we're not like, oh yeah, but yeah. It's just, let's talk. And we dream it, and it's big, and it's big. And before we know it, we've took over an island, and we've got a retreat, and people are coming from around the world. And that moment, we're in pure love with life. And in that moment, our consciousness is open. Our thought is open. Mind is open to all possibilities. And then we let it go. We might individually go about really excited thinking about it, but we don't hold it as, realistically, that's never going to happen. We've got to win the lottery. That's never going to happen. I don't do the lottery. We stay in the world of possibilities. Because, you know, sometimes how we think we would like things to happen, and our heart is not really how we wish to see it. But, you know, this wisdom, this feeling, this divine plan knows exactly what to gift you with in the moment. So the more we get away from here, our personal, and the more that we leave ourselves open. And that's not saying that we just sit back for the rest of our life and just say, yeah, I'm still thinking, I'm still getting the really good feeling, because by then we probably would be trying to create the feeling that we felt in the first place. And then we're just chasing our own tails. But like the fellowship that we're in March, we have these stunning eco-lodges that we found in the village where we're living. Just opened the week or so before, a dear friend of ours and her son was coming over to go with a walk with their dog. And we talked about going to the autumn wood, because there's woods all around us, and how wonderful it would be with the leaves falling down. We went nowhere near the woods. We walked through the village, went up this track, and we thought these eco-lodges were for where school kids could go to learn about nature and about the village and the history of the countryside around it. To our surprise, what we found out that day was that there was a training room, and eco-lodges were built where everything is eco, as in the water that you're showering in is from the land that you're sitting on. The heating, underfloor heating, is coming from the earth that you're sitting on. Inside is lighting up those buildings. So for us, we were like, oh my God. And our friend Michelle says, maybe you could do that training thing here. And we were like, yeah, maybe. So we asked to go back, and we had such an incredible conversation with two of the women. And it's a charity, it's a Heritage Fund charity. And the conversation was just so great. It was like, you know, when life just click, that when we just decided within our hearts, let's just start edging forward and saying, if we were to do a fellowship, what would it be like? Okay, so it would probably have a retreat part to it, because there's a great place to just be, where we can just come together and feel. Our goal would be, when we did our fellowship, the first thing that Chip Chipman says to us was, you know, you're not here to learn a body of knowledge. And I don't know if I said that out loud, but I certainly went ka-ching inside, because I'd learned so much that I was full. So to know that I didn't have to try and learn something or remember or write everything down and never read it ever again was like a tonic. And he says, if we can give you even that amount of what Sydney Banks uncovered, job done. Now, I've lost count how many times we explored, felt, experienced the oneness. So for us, that's all we can bring, with all its humility, to fellowship. It's the truth of how we see life, the truth of how we see one another. And those eco-lodges will come together for 4 days. It's a space to hang out. It's set with the most stunning countryside around it. So there'll be experiences to walk, to talk, to be on your own, to have food to eat together, to laugh, to love, and wherever. And then following that, we're doing 6 weekly webinars because there's people coming from Europe, it's already booked. So we decided that rather than, because we went to Canada for 7 weeks that time, that rather than create that ourselves, that for me, it just felt the number 6 lit up for me. So we're doing 6 weekly webinars where the same fellowship will stay together, but it won't end there. Where it's going to go, I don't know, but I do know it won't end there, because when you come together in universal truth, that does the work, not us. We're never doing that. We think we are. God love us, we really think we're the best thing since sliced bread. But when we really begin to see that, well, there's the toast that makes the bread, and who created the toaster, and how did they create that? Through someone having the principles. When we begin to see that everything has been made through mind, thought, and consciousness, there is no escaping it. And that's to be cherished, to be living life from excitement of knowing that there's nothing I can do to get away from who I truly am. All those stories that I called myself when I looked in the mirror, all those stories that I believed that when other people told me who I was and who I had to be. No. Innocence. Innocence. You can let it go and be who you are in this moment without the attachment of separation. In this moment, you are love manifesting through wisdom. Now, how does that feel in this moment? There you are. That's you.
So, I think it'd be good to open it up from there. Yeah. Before we do that, I just want to quickly reference just something. It just feels important to say this. We've talked a lot about the feeling tonight, and I just wanted to, in my own mind, and I see how this comes out, clarify what it is we're talking about. That some of you have been around the principles a little while. You might have had insight. You might have seen something that's true and seen the old fall away. Okay? Thought creates feeling. That can be a common one. Or maybe come to life and seen that you've not been reacting to life in the old habitual ways. Suddenly it didn't seem to matter so much. Certainly with insight, when those insights come in, for me there's a feeling there. If you can resonate to that, that's what we're talking about. That's our guidance system. Okay? Because I've heard people say that people in the community or people new to Principle can get very confused about the feeling, thinking that we're talking about a good feeling, any old good feeling, and that, you know, what they've got to do is make themselves feel good and that's it. We're talking about something more profound, something showing up that's just, there's a deep essence, a deep knowing to it, okay? I know we've all had inspiration at times, you know, stuff that's come in with a good feeling, and that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, nowhere to get to. We're built for that. We're built for insight. We're built for that feeling to flood through us. And this is why Sid told us to look within for the feeling, to listen for a feeling. Okay, for some, you know, it's almost like listening to music in a way, the feeling that comes through that, but even that's not it. But I just wanted to, it felt important to say that because I think people can run away with things. And you know, there has been talk recently in the community that, and I just want to say as well, the feeling, yes, the feeling is in the form. It's not it's not a principle. We're not talking about mind, thought, and consciousness and feeling. Though I think originally there was a book written about 4 principles. No, we're talking about 3 principles. But the signal that those divine principles are flowing through us and giving us guidance, information, to me, is in the feeling. That's the form of them coming in, if that makes sense to people. And again, without trying to be prescriptive about this or explain it, but I just wanted to put that out there. And again, don't listen to my words. Just look for your own feeling with this. So how should we do this? Shall we? People can unmute themselves, or
so you can either. Well, some of them aren't showing their, so it would be unmuting themselves. Or if you are showing your face, put your hand up and we can unmute you. Or if you just want to ask, there is the chat box at the bottom, you can type and it will show up and we can read that from there. So just sorry to bring you into the world of form and giving you choices.
It would also be lovely to see the people whose videos are not on, but also if you don't want to show yourself, that's fine too.
Sure.
But I know there's a couple of people that we know really well there, so it'd be lovely to see them. So it's up to you. But yeah, come forward. If there's anybody got any comments or want to ask any questions, want to share. Julie, smiling.
So it could be on what we said, or it could be on fellowship, or it could just be an insight or this is your space.
I think Julie wants to say something. Julie, do you want to say something? No, she's good. Okay, someone's got...
Yeah. Okay. Is that unmuted?
1 second, Keith. We'll have you unmuted if I can find you. There you go. Unmute. Keith, you're unmuted.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hey. Island in
I came on. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it or not.
Okay, well, it's great to have you here.
Sure,
absolutely.
I had a bit of that feeling you're talking about. I had a bit of one of those while you were actually talking this evening. And I know I've watched a few of your things, and I went to a weekend when you were in Brighton there. And I think I dip in and out of the principles as such. But what I realized tonight was, while I was listening, I quit smoking a couple of years ago, and the way I did, I was listening to the Alan Carr book. And the way that worked is you listen to it and you keep listening to it until you know inside that you're ready. And there's nothing that you do. And it's almost like an uncovering, like the way the books work is more like an undoing rather than a striving. You're not looking for steps of things to do, or there was nothing to do other than just listen. And your own mind just sort of finds a way and makes sense of it. And it sort of hit me tonight that's sort of where I've sort of dipped in and out the principles is sometimes, and I had the same thing about the smoking. What would life be like without smoking? And I couldn't picture it. So sometimes with the principles and stuff, I have this thing where maybe you're thinking, well, if I got the principles, right? Let's just say, I know, forget the language I'm using for a minute, but if I got, I'm talking from a feeling perspective, of course, but if I got it, then what would that do to the path I'm on now? Would that mess it up? Would it get in the way of it? And what hit me tonight is, it's just, I now have the feeling that I actually want to listen to this a bit more, because that's all I do have to do. And I loved what you said tonight, Steve. The one word, the one sentence that stuck with me, and really, it was amazing. It's just that stay in the world of possibility. And that's it right there. It's just be open to it.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that came out, and it was quite strong as a feeling for me. So I just thought I'd stick my hand up and share that anyway.
Well, thank you.
No, Keith, thank you for sharing that. That's there's so much in what you shared there. Again, it's regardless of whether it's 3 principles or whatever. We somebody somewhere said that we're built for insight as human beings, and that insight will show up regardless of where we're going in life, so it doesn't really matter where we're listening or looking at, and yeah, that was just great to hear that. So.
And for me, just on that insight brings us back to that It's inside. Inside. As where the change happens. It's not in the psychological. The psychological on its own is only the ego. And the ego is misinformation that we've chewed over and over and over. The ego cannot come up with anything new. Once it has like its template already in there, then it's just rehashing. It makes it look different. It brings a different feeling to it. It brings different light to it. But inside our soul, just like the ocean coming in, if you write something on the sand and the ocean comes in and it takes it. That's the way, for me, I've seen when the principles light someone up, it's gone. It's not like, remember when I used to, what was that I used to do again? So it begins to show you that there's something even bigger. When Sid talks about small mind, it's the small mind, it's the smoker, it's the small mind, it thinks it needs to do this. But universally, there's no such thing as a smoker because that's form. So when we begin to see that from that understanding, we have insight into our nature. And I loved how you have experienced you in that way, Keith. Because that's the part that will continue to light you up. Not what we're saying, not what anybody else is saying, but your truth. And the more that you look at that, and not trying to understand it kind of looking, but the more that you recognize, like, wow, why did that light me up? Wow, that lit me up when I heard that lit me up. So there's something within you, there's wisdom just shining its light, just letting you see. There's your truth in that moment. Because I'm sure if we asked everybody, they might have said, well, yeah, I liked it, but I don't think I had the same experience as what Keith did. So it just lets us see moments when we light up to things, when perhaps it's a situation that it may have looked difficult, or I don't know if I can change it, or I think it's bigger than me, and we just see it's gone. How does that miracle happen? As Tony said, it's because it's how we're built.
Built for insight.
That same miracle that gave us life from the get-go isn't giving up on us now. It's evolving us. It's bringing us truth. It's allowing us to step into the moment with ease, time and time again. And when we start seeing that that's ours, anything that we attach to it doesn't stay in the separate. It's impossible for life to be separate. And that's what I love. And that's what I heard from you there, Keith, is in that moment, there was no separation. There was the truth of Keith. So thank you.
Absolutely. I think, is that Jane? Has got her hand up there. Jane, go ahead. You should be unmuted.
Is that right? Is that working?
Yeah, gotcha.
Great. Well, I just want to say thank you with all my heart. Really, just so many of you guys, obviously, but everybody, to all of you. I just feel, well, I'm feeling. I haven't felt for many, many years, not truly, because I too was touched by multiple bereavements, and I was coping. And in my work, I was great at helping, or believing I was helping everybody else. And for me, physician heal thyself, that was a whole new different thing. And so I was coping with life until I was lent a book by Sydney Banks from Amanda. And then I met you at the Viva. I found myself, I had no idea. I didn't even find myself asking what was going to happen. I just trusted and knew I was meant to be there. And somehow it all happened. I just let go, got out of my own way. Wow. And there I was in Alvea, and it was just, I just fell in love. I just fell in love with me.
Yeah.
I had been coping 24 years I've been coping. And suddenly this was like a spring water of You know, when you get a hose in the garden, this keeps coming up and it's all clogged up with leaves and all the rest of it. Then you get a little trickle of spring water, and then suddenly it just goes blah, and then it just flows, and I don't have any. I'm not frightened anymore.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
Somebody down or me down, or because I was coping, and now I'm living. I just got out of my own way, and I'm just so grateful and happy. And when you said something about being connected and should you feel as happy, and I'm thinking and feeling happy, so I don't care whether I should or I shouldn't, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't care. I got out of the bath and I'm sitting here. I didn't realise we were going to be really, I hadn't even freaked out completely before about that. I don't care. This is me, and if, you know, this is just me. And the reactions from other people, oh, it's beautiful. That's all I can say, really. I just feel connected and not completely disconnected anymore. So thank you to everybody and everything.
Thank you.
You better mute me.
And that's a little bit like what I was pointing towards when I was saying there to Keith. It's like we can see something, and all we see is it, and that is what we kind of. And then all of a sudden, just life looks different, and you beautifully express that yourself in your experience.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
No trying. There's no, there's nowhere to get to. I love, Jane, that it sounds like you just went to this thing called Viva, just on a trusting that you wanted to go there, and
Totally.
it wasn't Viva wasn't where it was at. It was within you, but it just kind of came alive for you there, and that was my journey too with this. I wasn't looking when I bumped into it, and I know so many of us here have had the same experience, that it's just presented itself. Despite,
I think that's sorry. Yeah, because when I stopped, I think now, once I got out of my own way, and then it just kind of, that created a space, well, whatever happened created a space, because I let it, because I was rock bottom. I couldn't go any further with pain or anything. That's what I believed and thought at the time. And then, okay, hands up. And then whoosh. Just, I can't, there are no words. There just aren't any. It's just a big smile inside and out.
Thank you for sharing it with us.
For sharing. And thank you for that profound wisdom as well. There are no words, Steve and I are doing the best we can to describe something. The feeling of this, it's not in what we're saying. It really isn't. Brilliant. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you.
We'll just mute that.
Okay, Mark and Karen, will you just hang on a minute? You're getting a bit too carried away there.
Who's this guy full of excitement?
Oh, I can't unmute you, I'm afraid. So, special guest from Canada here, guys. And here we go. You're muted. Unmuted, sorry.
Hi, Mark.
Are we live?
You are.
Yeah,
live.
you are.
Can everybody hear?
I was just listening to Jane there, and Viva was such a beautiful experience. We saw such a change in Jane. It was unbelievable. But we have these peak experiences sometimes where we just go beyond our little mind, and we can see it just there, and we don't have to engage it. And we have these wonderful, when the time comes, we'll have a beautiful insight like that. But we don't have to search for it. We know the direction that it's in that deep gratitude and appreciation that the time will come when you might have another one. But I've just been so happy, like Jane, you just so a beautiful feeling, just going along. You don't have to seek these high insights all the time. And another thing that came up was I listened to Mark Howard a couple of days ago. Maybe others of you listened in on him. He's just the most beautiful man, Mark Howard, the psychologist from Los Angeles, or San Francisco? San Francisco, I think. And he said something about an early thing that John Enright had said to him before he even listened to Sid, was that you can be right or you can be happy. And that just resounds so much. If you just see that, you can either try and be right in many situations, or you can choose to be happy. And usually the two don't go together. But that just has been ringing in my ears as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, there is an ease, Mark, with what you've just said there. It's in that moment of just recognizing that I can become the devil and the angel on my shoulder at the same time. But I can either be happy or I can be right. Which one do I choose?
Yeah.
And it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Sort of that shows the two worlds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And how liberating is that? How liberating is that? This whole understanding for me is there is no right and wrong. It just is. It's just about the beingness of life, being in life. And there isn't a right or wrong way, And I love what you said, Mark, about the insight. We don't have to go chasing anything. We don't have to go chasing after those big insights. I learned that one quite early on, having had profound insight, and I thought it would just keep happening. And the more I thought that, nothing happened. I wasn't progressing with anything.
Yeah.
But there's really nothing to do with this. But there is no right or wrong. It just is. It's right there for the taking. We don't have to get it right.
Yeah.
Fine. And actually, at times, when we're showing up in life and it feels like we're getting it wrong, those are rich experiences now, because there's learning to be had there. If we allow ourselves to gravitate in that way, to see it in that way, rather than berating ourselves or trying to change our state of mind or to get clarity on things, we can actually see that, that just means there's a flag gone up. There's something for me to see here if I choose to. And even that suggests there's something to do, but there really isn't. So just the simplicity, again, I'm just reminded about the simplicity of it. All we need to do, and I saw this so clearly from a webinar Steve gave last year, whatever state of mind we're in, we just need to keep on walking, keep on flowing through life. That's our job. That's all we need to do. And just see what shows up, the beauty that comes from that.
See the best.
Yeah.
I'd like to comment as well.
Sure.
I'm so happy for Europe that you guys are going to be doing this fellowship. One of the things that really strikes me about how much you share is that it's like the Three Principles School. It's not about teaching somebody something. It's sharing the feeling and what you're sharing and bringing people back to that experience, like talking about the possibilities, feeling like we're living in that sense of wonder.
Yeah.
As much as I've been around this a long time, and we keep learning. And one of the things that's striking me more and more these days is how much I'm in that state of wonder. I don't know what's going to happen today. I'm so excited to see what's coming up.
Yeah.
And I was busy, doing my job, helping others, but I was, and mind you, living in a lovely feeling, but the feeling of that wonder, that possibility has just been striking home. And you guys are doing a beautiful job. I'm so excited for everybody that'll be at your fellowship.
Yeah.
Bless you.
You're lucky.
The feeling that people shared at Viva was so much like the Three Principles School in that same way, because people were just sharing the love.
Yeah.
So natural.
It's not in the words.
No.
Beautiful.
So thank you so much for this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you, because this collective feeling is yours too.
Thanks, guys. It means a lot hearing that from you, Karen and Mark. Beautiful. In our evening.
Yeah.
We feel so blessed to know so many beautiful people in the world. Look at the people that everybody's out there helping. Like, we're all out there helping the world. What a gift that we all get to know each other and to know something that we can share.
Yeah.
And that's just been the other lovely thing about, you know, seeing some of your faces here that we've met on our travels, and some people that we've really walked beside on this call. But it's coming from the coaching NLP school, where or doing those trainings, to suddenly fall into a world where we were just connected, making really deep friendships with people in the moment, having fun, having so much fun, so much laughter, and good time spent. And some people not seeing so much afterwards, and some people just, you know, are there, solidly there. And it's just, I love that aspect of it all. It's kind of almost like the byproduct of what we do, just sense a community, but without getting hung up on it that it is a community. It's just people there, beautiful people, showing up how they're actually designed to be, if that makes sense to people. So it's just beautiful. And the fact that we got Canada, Ireland, Spain on the call as well. It's just, and anywhere else I don't know about, actually, that people are on. Oh, and of course the UK. Okay, so is there anybody else? Thanks, Karen and Mark.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, David. Right, bear me a second, David. There we go. David, you're unmuted.
Hi, David.
Hey, thank you. It's been so nice been sitting here. Sometimes just my eyes shut, kind of, I don't know, just falling out of myself, falling into that feeling or into that place. I just wanted to thank Steve. You said something, we went on a retreat with Chip and Jan, and it really resonated with me, which was the waves will come in and they will go out. And I don't know, when I used to listen to stuff about the feeling, I would think I'd always, if I was in the feeling, I had to always be in a good feeling. And this may sound like a contradiction, but I've been realizing as well with people I work with, sometimes you can be in the feeling and it can be embracing not feeling okay. It can be almost holding it, and then you can be going up and down. You can be sad, you can be happy, you can be at peace. But I don't know, for me, it's been really helpful to realize slightly more and more deeply that when I'm low, it's not that I'm not getting it, I'm still just a part of life that will move and will change. So sometimes when I listen to things and I fall into that feeling, I can still feel low, but I can kind of be just with what is. I can be experiencing whatever I'm experiencing and it be okay. It's just something new for me, actually, because I always thought if I was listening to people talking and they were in a beautiful feeling, if I wasn't in a beautiful feeling but I was just present, I wasn't getting it. And then just experience flows when you allow it to be, and you're not in all your ideas about where you should or you shouldn't be. Then you're just part of life, you're part of what is. And you seem to get out of the way of yourself, and it moves and it changes, and in a moment you can be feeling low, and then a moment later you're in that beautiful feeling again. Just kind of, I was in a cafe today just watching a mother with her newborn baby, and suddenly my eyes were open and just kind of looking at the waiters and the waitresses and smiling, just sitting in that ordinary feeling of peace and joy. And yeah, so thank you for today, and thank you for that. It's just kind of such an extraordinary gift to have our eyes open to such awe and wonder and beauty, but also ordinariness and comfortable, being able to be comfortable being uncomfortable, I think is almost as important. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, David. I love that. It's just saying that it's just the experience of life. I've dropped calling things good or bad. Good or bad's the story that I used to tell myself. And when you just see, I loved how you said that, of just from seeing the mother and the baby, you saw beyond that, you saw life. You saw the world and all its beauty. Not, I hope that baby's not going to cry in a minute. I hope she shuts up. I hope she doesn't get, it was just wow. Wow. There's that wonder that Karen beautifully spoke about. Living life in wonder. Of not having to know what's going to happen next. We're designed to flow with whatever will happen next. And the more that we allow ourselves to trust that flow, the divine wisdom is what shows up. And we end up going just like that. I mean, I love talking about streams and nature, but just like that stream thinks, this is where I'll go, and it meets a rock, and oh, I'll go this way, and but some still goes that way. That's ours, that's life. We're just free flowing. We're meant to be that way, just flowing in any direction the wind takes us. If it's a leaf, the leaf doesn't drop and say, I want to go over there, quick, faster, faster. It just falls with beauty, and it lands, and it's at peace with the piece of ground it's on. Because it doesn't say, I'm a leaf, and that's the ground, and this is where I need to. It just is the energy of life manifesting as that in that moment. We're manifesting in the physical form at the moment, but yet behind us all is the feeling of love. And that love is our soul. And soul, S-O-U-L, searching out universal love. And for me, in all its simplicity, when we first heard, Chip has shared this a few times, and normally it catches his throat each time, but when Sid and all of Chip's, no, I'm not interested, why are you doing this to my wife? And Sid gently went up and says to him, let's go around the world gently tapping people on the shoulder and waking them up. This is our hope for tonight. This is our hope for you, that you listen to you, the gift of life. And our fellowship, that's what we hope. That for those who come along and spend the retreat and the weeks with us on webinars, that you get to know yourself like never before, and then again like never before, and then again. And you begin to see that that continual flow is you dancing with life, just expressing life. Nothing more and nothing less. It doesn't have to be a big full orchestra. The little ding at the end is every bit as important as the full orchestra. And when we just see that as we're showing up, we don't have to be anything big or grand. But yet in the moment, that is big and grand. Because you can't help but be. So,
shall I be the little ding at the end?
Yeah, because we're almost there. So what?
I can't believe this has gone so quickly. But just a couple of things to wrap up with, guys. Stephen, I would like to put this out live. No, sorry, not live. The recording out to people as well, just for people to view. If anybody's got any concerns about that, we'll probably chop the end bit, although there's been some beautiful feeling as well from you guys sharing, just as much from us. But if anyone's got any concerns about that, just drop us a line and let us know. And then I guess the only thing left really is to say thank you for tonight.
Yeah.
Melanie wants to say something quickly, but if anybody has got if they want any more information about the fellowship, you can go to our website, which is freeplifesoul.co.uk. We'll send you a recording anyway of this, and we'll put a link to the fellowship. Please get in touch. We can have a chat about it. We have got some spaces left. It's definitely, the fellowship's definitely going to go ahead. We have got enough people to do that, but there's some spaces and accommodation left too. So
And it's a small group. We're not going over 10. Okay. So we really want to keep it that we can just really be in.
Just going to unmute Melanie very quickly. Mel, if you don't mind.
Hi, Mel.
Hi, I'll just be super quick. At the beginning, you said about bathing in the grace of oneness, and I thought it was beautiful. And if I was going to say how I felt during this call, I thought that was it. So it's like you predicted that, and it was beautiful. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, good on you for catching it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you. Right, guys. Well,
thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you so much. We're touched by
it's been so great presence. To see you all. Be well.
Take care, everyone. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.